This is Stan Fischler, and this is the Power Play Break, the place to talk about pucks.
Back here on the Power Play Break with Pete Weber. Pete, before we took that first break, let's talk about now how you wind up at Notre Dame. It's not an easy school by any means to get into, and it's probably even tougher to stay there academically.
And it'd probably be impossible for me to get in there now, to tell you the truth, all these years later. But I followed my father, who had gone there from, he was also from Galesburg. He went there to follow the Knute Rockne dream. I mean, he was a high school football star at home and went there, but then realized he wanted to be an architect. Architecture and engineering school had these labs that kind of overlapped with football practice, so he wasn't able to do that. But he came out of there in pretty good shape and had a nice long professional career thereafter. His idea was both of his boys were going to go there. So my older brother actually started out in seminary.
Wow.
Left the seminary after 4 years, so there's his undergrad education, but went to Georgetown briefly and then transferred to Notre Dame and got I'm still trying to figure out what you do with this degree, but a PhD in medieval studies. You know, there's really not a lot of call right now for going into the Inquisition and the Crusades and all of that, but that's what my brother did before going on to write a financial newsletter. So I followed. My brother was actually there in grad school, even though there's a 10-year difference when I started as undergrad.
Oh, wow. So you guys roomed together, or are you guys separate?
Oh, that would not have worked out very well.
Now you go there, Lefty Smith was the hockey coach at that time. Did you kind of gravitate? Everyone thinks it's a football school, but you know you have to get a break somewhere. You have to get an opportunity somewhere. You say to yourself, "Okay, I'm going to go do the hockey," or did you?
Yes, absolutely. Now, I didn't get a chance to do much hockey on the student station. I got it actually later after I graduated. Went back to get my master's degree in communication because number one, my undergrad was Bachelor of Arts with a major in modern languages. So
between your brother and you had everything covered.
Yeah,
from that time period, right?
I got a chance because of the language major to spend my sophomore year at the University of Innsbruck in Austria, and there were 48 of us from Notre Dame and St. Mary's that did that, and a number of us still get together. I'll be having dinner tomorrow night with one of our group doing that. So I went back and essentially designed my own program. Yes, Ara Parseghian still is God to all of us who were there at that time. I mean, the USC game, which is the one we all, you think Ohio State, Michigan, for Notre Dame, it's USC. And when he walked off the field, Ara wasn't, when he finally got into the tunnel at the end of this 14-14 tie, Scott Hempel's attempted game-winning field goal hit the crossbar and bounced back. The rain did not fall until Ara was under the tunnel. That's the sort of power he held over Notre Dame Stadium, and still respected to this day. My wife went back with me for a college reunion 6-7 years ago. Ara was signing books in the bookstore. He had just come out with a new one, and I got one for my father and one for myself. And then Claudia saw me break down when Ara looked up at me and goes, "You used to work with Tom Denon on Channel 16. And to think that he would remember that from so many years before just overpowered me.
Now, it's a great experience at that school.
Oh.
I mean, it really lays the groundwork for a lot of guys to come out of there. Don Criquim came out of there.
Right.
A lot of big names have come out of there.
Don Criquim was my brother's contemporary, yeah.
Okay, but it's still, I mean, it's a great place to be.
Yeah.
And the coaches are probably much more accessible there to talk to about everything. It's just the
It's a smaller
environment.
student body. It's, it's an 8,000 undergrad. So you have the chance to really interact with these people. It's not like, well, my wife went to Ohio State, and I mean, there, when you're one of 40-some thousand compared to one of 8,000, you have a much better chance of getting interaction with these people. And Ara was fantastic. Lefty Smith was fantastic. We started out with Johnny D as basketball coach and finished up with Digger Phelps.
Oh, wow.
So very great personalities to talk to. And as far as Lefty is concerned, to get back to your earlier question, we remained close for years. I was 2 years ago at my computer ordering his birthday gift when I got a call that he had passed away. Lefty essentially lived to see the new rink built.
Yes.
And the ice surface named after him. until that point in time. And so a bunch of us, as a matter of fact, during the Olympic break, there's going to be a hockey reunion back in South Bend during the Boston University series, and a lot of us are planning to go back for that and toast one for Lefty.
When they dropped the hockey program there,
yes,
were you disappointed, very upset about it? I mean, because it has such a rich history. I mean, sports there have a rich history anyway.
I mean, the shutout record for goaltenders was held by a member of the Four Horsemen who played hockey in wintertime, Jim Crowley. And so that was a hurt. That was when I really began, sorry folks, this is politically incorrect, but I really resented Title IX. Hockey was dropped because of the requirement to establish equal number of scholarships for the female athletes. But they finally got that straightened out, brought it back, and one of my classmates, Rick Schaefer, was the varsity coach when they came back. And then it was from the old WCHA to the CCHA, which now has just met its demise effectively, as college hockey has really gone through a lot of tumult.
Now, is it a fun place to call games for you know, your time at that?
Boy, was it ever! Matter of fact, we got the chance to experiment with stuff. The student FM station did the games for a while, and when I was there, we were able to do the games in stereo, so that play-by-play would be on left channel, color would be on the right channel, so it was a conversation, at least when you're in your car, which is the best example of that. And we had shotgun mics on top of both goal judges' booths, so it's almost like the Doppler effect. You hear the guy skating toward you or skating away from you. So getting the chance to try things like that, I think, is critical for anybody to say, okay, broadcasts are not all packaged in one box, there's one way to do them.
Now, when you were there having a great time and everything, did you think to yourself, maybe I'll do this for a career? You know, or was it just a fun event for you? Like you said earlier, you know, it didn't seem like work. I mean, did you know there was an opportunity to do this? I knew there was an opportunity, but I still considered it fun. Did not consider it work, but I knew that that's what I wanted to do. So I pursued that. As a matter of fact, my undergrad career was finished a semester early because I had all the requirements done, and in my hometown of Galesburg, they were looking for a sports director at one of the local radio stations. They asked me if I'd be interested. So I went in to the dean's office, and Dean Thompson, we used to call him Dr. No, because that was his answer to everything, no. And I said, it looks like I have the hours here. Can I graduate and take this job? Dr. No said yes. So went ahead and took the job, and in mid-December of '72 was driving back home, knowing I had a diploma coming up in May and starting work. When we get back, we'll talk about that with Pete right after this.